that showing a lack of faith in God to protect us?
What was the pilgrim that was carrying a gun, and the guy said, "Brother, don't you know that when your time comes, that God will end you?" And he said, "Why are you carrying the gun?" We said, "Well, I may meet an Indian whose time has come before mine." They said, "Well, I may meet an Indian whose time has come before mine." They shoot themselves, and the idea of putting somebody to death through a weapon is just not in keeping.
And that had two entrances at each side of the circle, where the walls kind of overlapped each other, and there'd be just a space, wide enough for a person to get through.
The English troops rose and they commended themselves to God. And then they moved toward this palisaded fort. What they counted on more than anything was the element of surprise. If they could get in without being detected, they could achieve their goal of killing the inhabitants and taking away whatever spoils there were for themselves. Mason divided the forces up, and they went to the two entrances, and they found that the Indians had covered them with brush. They pulled the brush out of the way, and they went inside and started entering wigwams and slashing whatever was there. What was there, of course, were women and children and men.
They met with very stiff resistance from the Pequot warriors. John Mason felt that the resistance was too fierce. And he realized that they could not kill everybody by hand-to-hand fighting.
So he ran inside, and he got a torch out of one of the fires, and he came out and he yelled, "We must burn them."
The English intent was not originally to burn the fort because they wanted to save the plunder. But Underhill and Mason were professional soldiers. They must have had a plan B. And that plan was to set fire to the fort, retreat outside the fort to prevent anyone from escaping.
The Englishmen ran outside, and the Indians had a choice to make. Stay and die a death under fire, or try to get out. Those that tried to get out were either killed by the English, and if they got through that line behind them, there was a line of Mohicans who finished the rest off.
The destruction, the burning, the killing. There were so many people lying on the ground, Pequot men, women, and children, that the English couldn't even walk without stepping on bodies.
The scene was so shocking that even some of the English began to ask if, as Christians, they ought to show some mercy. But Captain Underhill pointed to the Old Testament and said that God wanted those who were sinners, heathen, to suffer, he said, the terriblest death that may be, and that the innocent needed to suffer along with the guilty.
Even though the Narragansett and Mohegan had no love lost for the Pequots, they were absolutely shocked by the brutality that the English displayed to attack elderly men and women, or women and children, women with nursing children. They went up and threw their hands up and said, "Mock it, it's too much." They were distraught is not too strong a word. Hundreds of people lay dead. And it was a moment that changed everything for the English and the Indians. Not just for that day, but from that day forward. The possibilities of trust and cooperation that had been there at the beginning
themselves
went up in smoke.
The idea of putting somebody to death through a weapon is just not in keeping with Christianity, so it's a problem. But anyway.